What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Broadway Joel, the voice of Dominican Box, and I am here with Ringside reporter Joe Habeeb. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Always a pleasure. It's great to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people don't know. Me and you, we've been on the Boxing Voice a few times together. We interact all the time on Twitter together, including today. And I was like, we were going back and forth, and the discussion required so much more in-depth conversation. I wanted to take it here to YouTube. I'm like, that way we can, discuss our points of views and in depth without having to type and then wait for the other person to,
Yeah,
I was like, you know
I
what,
got
let's
you.
just do it on camera.
I got
So,
you.
it seems like you've been on Twitter, well X now, disgruntled with the way people have been viewing this new Muhammad Ali revival act that Turkey and Dana White are trying to propose. What's your gripe with people being against it?
I think it's a lot of misinterpretation of the amendment. And to be quite honest, I went over it and I read these two sections here that people have a problem with. Let me just pull them up real quick.
Hmm.
There's two sections here that are in question of being violated. It's Title 15 U.S. Code Section 6308, which is the conflict of interest, and the other one is the Title 15 U.S. Code Section 6307, subsection E, which is the required disclosure for promoters. And as it stands right now, even without the amendment, TKO Boxing is not in a violation of either one of those acts.
Hmm.
And people are saying, well, why do they want to put an amendment in place then? Because you're hearing people say, oh, they want to get rid of it, they want to change it. No, they were just going to add an amendment that included UBOs, but they weren't taking anything out. Those two sections were staying in. As I said, as it stands, they're not in violation of those two sections. So the question is, well, why do they want to change it? Well, think about this, though. Let's park that to the side. They already
Hmm.
have a television deal. They already have a launch date of January of 2026. This is without the amendment even being voted on or even being passed and put into law. So as it stands right now, they're going to launch regardless of whether this act is on the books or not. So that's
Hmm.
number one. Number two, they don't need it. So that's my whole thing. They're not in violation of it. And when people are trying to describe what's actually in those two sections, they're not being correct in their description and how they're trying to say what these two sections are saying. They're interpreting all wrong. This whole thing about, oh well, you can't create your own sanctioning body. It doesn't say that in there. It just says there's in the conflict of interest part of it right here. I'll read it to you right here. That
If you, I don't know, I'm not sure. You can screen share. I'm not sure if you on a laptop or not.
I'm on
You
a
can,
laptop. You want me to screen share? Yeah, I can see if I can
yeah,
screen share
screen
for
share,
you.
and I'll put it up so that way everybody, all the fans at home can see as well.
Let me see if I can pull it up for you. Here you go, right there.
Yeah.
Let's share this portion.
All right.
So if you look at the firewall section,
Mm-hmm.
it says the promoter to have a direct or indirect financial interest in the management of a boxer, which is vague because I mean, like, if you put that before a federal district court judge, right? Even in Al Heyman's case, how is that going to be interpreted? Like, have a direct or indirect financial interest in the management of a boxer.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't explicitly say a promoter can't be a manager or a manager, but it implies it. But it's not explicit, right? Have
Mm-hmm.
direct indirect financial interest in the promotion of a boxer, and this is to
I,
be in
I, to be honest, I don't think that's vague though. I think that's pretty clear.
it. I think it's clear, but it doesn't directly say that you can't do it. It says direct
Well,
or
it says
indirect.
you can't have indirect, meaning like a signed contract where you're directly his manager, or
Yeah,
indirect in terms of you can't benefit off of his purse. You can pay him as a promoter. Now I'm getting into logistics. As a promoter, you can pay your fighter,
let me
meaning
let me rephrase it, Joel, because I'm in
okay,
agreement with you on what you just said.
okay.
It's hard to enforce that. Is that fair?
It's hard to. It wasn't until and we could I know we're gonna get into it. It isn't hard to enforce, but when the advent of the advisor came in,
Yep.
that's where we saw the little loophole.
That's a method of being able to circumvent that, correct?
Correct.
All right. We're in agreement on that one. So, okay, let's look at this part where here's the sanctioning organizations.
Yeah.
Except as provided in paragraphs, no officer or employee of the sanctioning body may receive compensation, gift, benefit directly, indirectly from a promoter, boxer, or manager. The receipt of payment by a promoter, a boxer, or manager of a sanctioning organization, published fee for his sanctioning a professional boxing match, or reasonable expenses in connection therewith, if payment is reported to the responsible boxing commission. The receipt of a gift or benefit, de minimis value. So what does that even mean? That doesn't say that, let me pull this down. How do I pull this down for you?
No, I got it.
All right, so thank you.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? How is that saying, a promoter can't start a sanctioning body or can't be a sanctioning body? That doesn't really say that. But even still, if you have your own belt, you're not collecting sanctioning fees. So if you're not collecting sanctioning fees, how are you acting as a sanctioning body? And even then, we're not operating as a sanctioning body, right? We're operating as a league, which has already been clarified. And then when you look at the UFC in general, because a lot of people compare it to the UFC, they don't rank their own fighters. They have an independent body of journalists, like the Ring magazine does, who ranks fighters. So in this case, I would suspect, and this is just me suspecting here, I wouldn't be surprised if Ring ranked these fighters or was in charge of, determining, who fights who in terms of like for that belt or whatever. There's got some type of ranking system. I wouldn't be surprised if Ring was in charge of doing that. So I don't see the conflict of interest here, right? And I don't think anything's being broken. Now you can counter that and say, well, why do they want to make amendments then? I think they want to be transparent. I think because they're a publicly traded company, they don't want any controversy. They don't want people to question them in any way. They don't want to go through what Al Heyman had to go through. He was sued twice by the other two promoters. And even though one case was dismissed and another case was settled out, when you're a publicly traded company, regardless of the outcome of a case, you don't want that negative publicity out there. You don't want to shake the confidence of the shareholders. When people say, oh, well, UFC paid out this, paid out that, UFC didn't pay out anything. That was TKO who paid out that settlement. And that case was going on for years. TKO paid. Yeah, TKO paid out that settlement. UFC didn't pay out that settlement. TKO has a market cap value of $42 billion. That's a flash in the pan for them. And again, I'm glad the fighters got that money. But with or without the Muhammad Ali Act, contract law is contract law. If you have a predatory contract or you have an unconscionable contract, which means the contract is heavily leveraged to one side and it's unfair, right? Mm-hmm. You don't need a federal district court judge to decide whether it's going to go to court or not and have a court case about that. You can go to state superior court. And in many cases, Joel, right? Again, I'm not here to bash the Muhammad Ali Act, but I'm just saying this is not the holy grail that people are saying it is. This is not the get out of jail free card for the average fighter out there. Because if you're the average fighter, you still got to pay legal fees. Like Mikey Garcia, he invoked the Muhammad Ali Act against Top Rank. And it took him 2 years for a federal district court judge to even hear his case. And then if they decided that it was going to go to trial, it would have taken another year. So how many fighters can afford to pay the legal fees? And how many fighters can sit out 3 years waiting to get their case heard? So there's been no judgment ever rendered by a federal district court judge whenever the Ali Act was invoked. The cases have always either been dismissed or settled out of court. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying that. So this is not me bashing it. This is me just stating facts. Yeah. And even Chris Algieri said, yeah, I invoked it, but it didn't help me, but it gave me some ground to stand on. I mean, if that was your objective, to have ground to stand on, then you won something. So that's my whole thing. And then we got a discussion and there's a little bit of confusion between us about the whole 80-20 split, because that's the talking point. Oh, well, all the fighters, they get an 80-20 split with the promoter. Not true. Only the main event fighter gets an 80-20 split. When you factor in the whole card, and you made a great point, because fighters like Mayweather and Canelo, they are the 1% of the 1%. So those fighters will actually make more than the promoter, because they're getting an exorbitant amount of money. Not always, but in most cases they will. But more often than not, when the whole card is factored in, and you look at the rights fee that the broadcaster is given the promoter, the live gate, when you look at that, and then you look at the sponsors and the advertisers, all the
international money.
The promoter gets a huge cut of all that, and he gets a cut of all the undercard. In most cases, if you factor in the whole card, the promoter is getting 60% of the revenue, and the rest of the card is getting 40%. Now, when the promoter decides, well, he subtracts out the portion that him and the main event fighter are getting, that portion is 80-20, not the rest of the card. So this whole thing that, all boxers are getting 80-20 split with the promoter, that's not the case.
No. That would be a lie.
But you hear people say that though, Joel, don't you?
I have not. But to be fair, I'll be honest with you. I don't watch too much other people's content. I'm busy with my own personal life. Yeah. But from what I understand, is the problem in the UFC has been the pay. That's always been the talk of it. Yes. And so, like, for example, Daniel Cormier is I think he's more popular than most boxers. And maybe not Canelo, not Crawford. We can name 5-6 guys maybe. Sure. When he fought John Jones, the greatest MMA fighter of all time, he got paid $80,000. And then he mentioned after that fight, Dana White. He said that in an interview. So unless he's lying about his own paycheck,
I thought his guaranteed purse, if I remember, it was reported as $500,000, and then Dana White gave him an extra $1 million on top of that.
Well, I'm just going by what I saw in the interview.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But let's go by 500,000. Let's go by 500.
Sure.
Let's just go by that. Yeah. He got 500,000. And then Dana White gave him an extra $1 million. So he made 1.5 for fighting the greatest.
But then he got a percentage of the pay-per-view revenue too, though, Joel. He got a percentage of the pay-per-view revenue that was not revealed.
That's not what he said in the interview.
Yeah, they get a percent they get percentage points on the pay-per-view. I don't think they brought that. I don't think they even brought that part up. He was talking about his guaranteed purse.
Okay. So he was guaranteed 1.5 and plus upside.
Yeah. Sure.
Roughly how much you think that upside was? Roughly.
I'd be honest. I think I wouldn't be shocked if he got more than $3 to $4 million for that fight. I think on the very generous high end, he may have gotten $4 million for that fight.
3 to 4. So
that's fair to say.
William Skull for fighting Canelo got 3. Yeah.
Correct.
And William Skull and Daniel Cormier walked down Times Square, and they asking William Skull to take the picture for him with Daniel Cormier. So when was that fight though, Joel? I'll look it up. I don't want to sit here and
was that in 2015ish or so?
I don't know. Let me pull up. Let me see if we can pull it up. Yeah, give me 1 second. 2017.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, 2017.
So let me just tell you this. That's shit and that's horrible. But that was under the Fertitta brothers. Right? Mm-hmm. That was before UFC was purchased by Endeavor, and then they merged with TKO. Because I'll tell you right now, that would never happen today. Just wouldn't. So this is what I tell people. What happened back then was shitty. It was horrible. And that's going to be a stain on the UFC forever. Just like when a fighter tests positive for PEDs like Canelo. I think he was innocent. I believe he ingested it unknowingly. I think it was an unintentional ingestion. I think it was from contamination. That's what I believe. I firmly believe that. Most people don't. I'm in the minority on that, Joel. Most people disagree.
I'll be honest with you. I find it hard to believe. Listen, I've flip-flopped on this take before, but the more I mature on it, I start thinking like, yo, this guy's getting paid $30 million a fight. You have access to cows. Forget the best meats in the best supermarkets. You have access to your own personal cow.
Yeah.
And you telling me you eating tacos
Well, think
down
about it,
the
Joel.
street?
I got an answer for everything. Mayweather was making tens of millions of dollars, and he was going through the McDonald's drive-through. I mean, if you like your food, you like your food. Like not all fighters is gonna get everything shipped in. Sometimes they just want to. Maybe he wanted
but there wasn't
a street taco. Maybe he was in Mexico. He wanted a street taco.
Yeah, but not McDonald's don't have a history of making people test positive for.
No, I'm just saying, like.
No, and I'm just saying you made the comparison, but the comparison isn't equal because I've never heard somebody eat McDonald's and test positive. I've heard
you're missing the point.
Hold on. You gotta let me finish my point though.
Yeah.
There is a history of people eating meat and testing positive. You got a fight coming up. That that street taco that you want to eat, and maybe just hold off on it until after the fight.
All right,
or maybe
that's your argument. The point I was trying to make is, I don't know if you were making this point, but he's millionaire. He can get he's rich. He can get anything shipped in he wants. Yeah, but these fighters sometimes just want to eat regular food. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the point I'm trying to make. Like Mayweather goes to like McDonald's. He's in Mexico. Maybe he wants to get a street taco. Maybe he doesn't want to get his food flown in all the time. That's the point. You see what I'm trying to make? That they're not always.
I understand your point.
You see that point? They're not always going to eat the highest quality food. Sometimes they want to be like regular people and eat junk food once in a while, right?
And that's a fair point. But you gotta, like they say, you gotta pick your battles.
Yeah, he's responsible for it, Joel. It's just like the way I look at PEDs, and I'm not going to go too far off this, but.
Yeah, we'll get back on track. It's just you brought it up, so I wanted to count it.
Yeah, so it's like it's like traffic violations. You don't give someone who's speeding 5 miles over the speed limit. The punishment for that is not the same if someone gets a DUI. So the way I look at it is like I'm not saying he's not responsible for what he did. I'm just saying that the punishment I thought fit the crime based on the circumstances, because the whole Mexican soccer team was tested positive for clenbuterol. He had such a trace amount in there. If you're to take the actual pill form in the proper dose that you're at the level of efficacy that you need to take it, you can't have that little amount. You can't chop a pill up that small and have that little amount in your system. Like when you're taking that milligram tablet, you're not going to have that small amount left in your system. It's just not. It doesn't work that way.
There's ways of microdosing. There's also
microdosing.
You can flush stuff out and stuff like that. There's certain ways.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is another thing people misconstrue. Microdosing it's like shooting stuff. Like if you're going to take 600 milligrams of testosterone, instead of taking it all at once, microdosing, if you're having a fast acting, microdosing is splitting the dose 2, 2, and 2. When you don't microdose tablets, Joel. I mean, I'm not trying to be obtuse here, but you don't chop up the tablet. And
I got you.
And you're not going to take that little of amount because you need to take a specific amount to get the efficacy out of the drug. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to change your mind because I'm still in the minority here.
No, it's fine. I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest. So somebody will maybe pull up an old video of me saying the opposite, saying what you're saying. I flip-flopped on this. It's just like when it comes down to it, like you're responsible for what's in your body.
Yeah, you're responsible for
your body, you know, and you can't, especially with the way at that around that time. I remember, I'm sure you remember, this is when random blood and urine testing was becoming kind of the norm. And people were testing positive at an alarming rate, and for all types of stuff, not just clenbuterol. So when he just kind of fell into that, and that in your country there's been it just makes it hard for me to believe. You know what I'm saying? I have a
last point on this. Do you know after that they changed the allowable amount in a fighter's system? So if he tested with that amount today, he would have passed. Did you know? You know that?
I did know that.
Okay. Yeah. So I
mean,
that says something. But again,
we'll get back on topic. I want to.
Yeah, let's get back onto this.
Yeah, it says this is Juan De Lo Mio. He sends a $5 super chat. He says, "Thank you for bringing the best in the business. The Ringside reporters. You're always bringing people that are knowledgeable about the boxing business. Yes, that's what we do here on this channel. And me and him, we've known each other for years. He's never been on the channel. I've never been on his, but we've interacted.
We've always crossed paths on other people's channels. That's right.
Yeah, that's how we always. This same guy sends $2 super chat. He says Turkey overpaying fighters like Skull. Come on.
He probably did.
Yeah, but the thing is, see, and I'm glad he brought that up. See, when you're fighting a certain level of fighter, you're gonna get paid a certain amount. That's just obvious. So in boxing, you kind of get paid what you're worth depending on the size of the event, who you're fighting. And a guy like Canelo can rake in 50, and you can rake in, 1 or 2 and stuff like that. But why is he only getting 1 or 2? Well, his last fight he made, 150,000. So like that 1 or 2 is good for him. So I don't think that he was overpaid. I think he was just paid for the event that he performed.
Hey, listen, the deal you take is the deal you make. So if if you're going to get offered it, you take it. Now, whether or not the event generates revenue or takes a loss, the promoter usually doesn't take the hit. It's the broadcaster, and in most cases, the broadcaster is sometimes prepared to have a loss leader on a lot of these events. On a lot of these broadcast platforms, boxing is filler content. Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How much US subscribers does the Zone really have? That's a big question.
That is a question. Do we have access to that number?
Last time I checked, it was, I think it was, I want to say 2 million, but that was back in last time they released numbers. I think it was 2018 or 19 or so. I know a lot of people anecdotally that canceled their membership. I canceled my membership about, I want to say, a year and a half ago. Yeah. I don't have the Zone anymore.
Yeah. No, really? So how do you watch the Zone? Oh, let me not ask that.
Yeah. Well, there's other ways too. I have not only just that way. There's other ways I watch it too. That's pretty okay to do.
I got you. We're not gonna get into the details.
Yeah.
We're not gonna get into the details.
I have access.
So what do you think? So right, all right. They have a TV deal in structure for January. They are getting ready to get started. Yep. How do you envision their place in boxing? And I'm talking TKO here in the next 5-10 years.
Well, the thing I like about it is I think they'll do fine because I don't think they're going to overpay fighters. I think that the money won't run out, and I think that Paramount Plus or Sella and Turkey Al-Sheikh using that public investment fund money from Saudi, I think that the revenue stream it won't be like what PBC had that big chunk of money and they just right out the gate they were like, we're gonna just burn this cash. I think they're gonna be a little bit more strategic with the way they move, and as a result of that, I think they'll last. And I talked about it earlier today on my video. This is perfect for per diem fighters. You know what a per diem fighter is, Joel?
Per diem is you get paid for like just you're
on call, right?
Yeah.
How many of these guys, Joel? You've been in gyms. How many of these guys just sit by the phone waiting for that call, right? Mm-hmm. They're waiting for that call. Hey, we need you for this fight. We got to fill a fight on the undercard. How many fighters like that? Like Brandon Adams, he got the call pretty quick because Sergey Boachuk, I think he was supposed to fight Boots, but then things changed quick, and of course I'm going to be on the Canelo Crawford undercard. I'll take that fight. How many fighters like Brandon Adams, who's going to be in TKO? It's been reported. How many fighters are there out there, mid to lower level card guys that don't have a promoter, don't have a steady schedule? They're just sitting there waiting for the call. So this is going to be perfect for them. The per diem fighters, the on-call fighters. Per diem, like you're on call. So now you're going to have a steady schedule. You're going to have guaranteed insurance. You're going to have guaranteed pay, right? And I just think for that level of fighter, there's a lot of people out there. Like a lot of them are in PBC that they're not technically under contract, but they fight under that banner, and they only get the fight when the phone rings. So I think they're going to be fine. It's going to be like the Contender Series. It's going to be like the Contender Series. It's going to be like WWE Tough Enough. Those shows where they can make the stars. And then I also think once the star emerges from there, it gets passed over to Turkey Al Sheikh. But I don't think it ends there. Like Dana White got the call for Crawford Canelo. He got the assignment, Dana White. And I think Eddie Hearn was a little jealous of that. I think he was a little jealous because he's no longer Turkey Al Sheikh's favorite son anymore. And they could play it off all they want, right? They could say, well, these are lower level fighters, right? But we have the stars over here, so it's like apples and oranges. But I also said this afternoon, and tell me what you think about this. Yeah, these guys like Virgil Ortiz, Boots Ennis, Shakur Stevenson, all these guys, Teofimo Lopez, they're not going to be part of this, right? They're way above the pay scale for this, right? We know that.
Mm-hmm.
But these promoters are going to need fighters to fill their undercards. And TKO, if they take the majority of those fighters, they're going to shrink that pool of fighters that Eddie Hearn and PBC and Golden Boy have to pull from, right? Because if you take the Bohachuks and you take the Brandon Adams and you take the Vito Milneckis and you bring them over there, those are fighters that can't be used by the other promoters. And now also, too, you got Turkey Al Sheikh's money behind it. So now the other promoters like Eddie Hearn, Oscar De La Hoya, particularly Eddie Hearn, because he's been the most vocal about it, and Oscar De La Hoya has also been very vocal, because I believe these guys look at this as a threat, because they're saying, well, if Turkey Al Sheikh is putting money over here, does that mean he's reallocating money that could be ours, and now he's reallocating it and shifting it over here? So now that's a concern, I think, for them. And also, yeah, these are lower to mid-level guys, but we need these lower to mid-level guys too. I mean, we have to put together cards here, right? So I think that's the problem that these other guys have. This whole virtue signal, this whole moral relevancy that they're trying to portray. Just like the last time when the Ali Act was invoked in two major lawsuits. Who did it? The promoters. Oh, you're creating a monopoly. You want to take over the sport. No, it's not a monopoly. It's a monopsony. A monopoly is only one seller. A monopsony is one buyer. So if you're not creating a barrier to entry, there's a whole bunch of sellers, but the buyers want that one seller. That's a monopsony. Like Google, like Apple to some degree, that's a monopsony. That's not illegal. All these promoters would like to take over boxing. All these promoters would like to be number one if they could.
I think Heyman tried. I think Heyman tried a little bit.
I think he did. I think he did. But the money ran out.
Yeah, and I feel like he made a few mistakes along the way.
Sure,
more than a few. And I do think that both of them being new to boxing, both Turkey and Dana White. I know you can say he brings the experience from MMA, and Turkey isn't necessarily a rookie because he does have probably like a year or two in the boxing business, roughly, give or take. But mistakes are going to happen. Look, like Turkey Al Sheikh going to Shiraz's corner and telling him, oh, you're down, and then the decision comes out as a draw. It's controversial. I feel like that was a mistake because it implies that he was rooting for this fighter and made the fight happen.
That was a bad look, Joel. That was a bad look. That was a bad look.
And it was a rookie mistake. And it's a rookie mistake because he could have just sat in his seat and then it ends a draw, and then he goes, hey, man, that's a decision. What do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? But so I'm anticipating mistakes on their part. Just because, hey, listen, if I started playing baseball tomorrow, I guarantee I'm going to make an error. You know what I'm saying? And from what I understand is the TKO, I guess, league or Zuffa boxing league, whatever they call it, is going to be like the AAA of boxing. You know what I'm saying? Sure, if you understand, I'm not sure if you watch baseball. You understand?
Yeah, I know AAAs. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then
Pawtucket Red Sox over here. Pawtucket Red Sox.
Oh man, don't talk to me about those Red Sox. I'm a Yankees fan. I know. Yeah. So the damn, I lost my train of thought.
You said it was a AAA league.
Oh yeah. So a AAA league, and like you said, once they get, they graduate from there, so they'll graduate to Riyadh season, and that's the plan. My concern is with the payments being slotted. It's like if you're ranked 5 to 10, you're gonna get paid 50,000. 4 to 1, you're gonna get paid whatever. I don't know the exact numbers. I'm
Yeah.
just throwing numbers.
That's what's being put out there, but we don't know. We don't even know if those numbers are even correct.
I know somebody who signed to TKO, and
They say that was correct.
I different fighters I think got different contracts, but point is it's slotted. It's slotted the pay.
Okay.
Meaning like
I can't say one way or the other. I don't know.
You can sell, the people could be there to see you, but your slot is what you're gonna get paid based off what you're gonna get ranked. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. What class they put you in is it's almost like when you get hired for a job, you have certain steps, like your step A, B, and C, whatever.
Yeah, my biggest concern, and this is a kind of like a personal concern,
all right,
is where does that leave the managers? There is no room for negotiating, right? So there's no room for negotiating. Hey, my father should get 200,000 instead of 100,000. It's like, no, you signed a contract and it's slotted, right? So you're probably like, oh, whatever, then the manager don't get a cut. That's better for the fighter. That's one way of looking at it. But you've been around boxing for a long time. You know the importance of a manager, both just handling logistics. Now, I'm not even talking about the financial, which I'm obviously going to get to, but just handling logistics for a fighter, a manager definitely deserves a cut. And then not include that now when you take into account how much money he has to put in. And there's certain fighters, particularly American fighters, that maybe could overcome not having a manager. But the reason I mentioned this might be a personal thing for me is where does that leave the international fighters who come from third world countries who would want a visa to come to America? And then who's going to pay for the visa? The manager. Who's going to pay for the living expenses? Who's going to pay for the strength and conditioning coaches?
Who's going to represent them? If they can't, who's going to represent them and help them out with the contract if they're not able to fully understand it because they come into a new country?
Exactly, right. and I'm not here. Listen, my family's from the Dominican Republic. I'm not here to downplay anybody.
It's a valid point. It's a valid point.
So it's almost like giving a certain advantage to certain fighters just off the rip, because there's some fighters that are maybe be able to finagle their way in, but the lack of managers wanting to deal with this promoter, that's probably the better way of putting it, concerns me for the international fighters, and not just Dominican fighters, the Ukrainian fighter, the Russian fighter, the Colombian fighter, the the Mexican, I was gonna say Puerto Rican, but they're legal Americans. So it's almost concerning to me on that tip. You know what I'm saying?
So there's no room for negotiation with the purses. Once you sign up, this is what you're going to get, and you're locked in, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think once you become champion, you get an increase per defense. So and don't quote me on the numbers. I think it's like 250, then 500, then 750, and I think after that you kind of cap out. I think.
Joe, the question I want to ask Dana: when these guys sign to TKO, how long is their contract? How long do they got to stay with them? That's not been made clear.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be mistaken, this is probably something I should have looked up before. I don't think a promoter could sign a fighter longer than 3 years.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna chat GBT this on live. Like I want to say that that's the truth.
Yeah.
But then again, no. Wait a minute. Didn't like Anthony Joshua sign like a lifetime deal with?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the actual rule is there, but even with that being said, I want to know how long that they're signing these guys to. So say you're going to sign up and you're going to participate in TKO. How long do you have to stay there? How long are you locked in there? If you don't like it, how long do you got to stay there? And maybe if you say you don't want to leave, will they let you leave, or will they let you go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would love to sit down and talk with Dana and ask him questions like that, you know?
Yeah,
So
it's all right. So it says depending on where it's signed. So the Muhammad
every state
Ali,
has different contract law.
yeah. So in the United States, the Ali Act limits the power of promoters over fighters. While the Ali Act doesn't specify a fixed time limit, like 3 years maximum, it prohibits promoters from having long-term control that restricts boxers' ability to negotiate a fight
Once again,
or fight
vague.
elsewhere.
Once again, vague. You know?
Yeah, most U.S. commissions approve promotional contract do not approve a promotional contract longer than 3 to 5 years. But it is,
Okay.
yeah. It says states like California and Nevada, which are the two of the major cities, says lean closer to 3 years maximum. Which I guess I was somewhat correct, but I agree it is kind of vague the response. So this is something that I'm not sure if you got a chance to check out my interview with Kurt Emhoff of Boxing Esquire. We discussed can both exist? Can both, the sanctioning bodies and Top Rank and Golden Boy and then the other side, Dana White and Turkey, exist? And I think it can. And I also don't think that there's any super red flags of this new Muhammad Ali Reform Act that endangers boxing. Now, there are some concerns, like I mentioned, the international fighters that does worry me, their ability to compete in that league, and and also just how they're the only ones currently really with a TV deal. I know Eddie Hearn and these people on the zone, but they're if all the fighters go there, it kind of puts everything out of business. You don't think that's a possibility?
I'll be honest with you. I think they can corner the American market to some degree, but I think international they won't be able to compete with Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren internationally. But think about it, Joel. Who's really killing it right now in the U.S.?
Yeah, no, it's nobody.
Nobody, right? Who really has a like? Who has a deal? Like PBC has a deal, but is it really a deal? I mean, all the fights are pay-per-views, right?
Yeah, that's not a deal.
And then Eddie Hearn and Golden Boy have that deal with the zone. But once again, how many American fight fans are watching Eddie Hearn and Golden Boy cards besides the diehards like you and me?
Yeah.
So there's already a huge void that needs to be filled, right? In my opinion, at least. So
no, I agree.
That's where I look at it.
How did we get here? How did we get here from 10 years ago? We had maybe a little longer than 10 years. Let's say 15 years ago, we had HBO, Showtime, pay-per-views. Sport was in a healthy space. How did we get here to this situation where there's no boxing on television and the MMA guy is now trying to take over?
A lot of it has to do with the fighter pay, setting up a system where fighters were incentivized to not always fight the best, and then they expect to get a certain amount, and now they won't fight unless they get that certain amount. And as a result of that, in order to get them what they want, they have to be on pay-per-view. And when you put all these fights on pay-per-view, you limit their exposure. And that's why a lot of them never really became stars, because they weren't put in front of large audiences and people weren't allowed to be able to see them, and they weren't exposed to the casual fan. And that's what happened, And even, when you look at UFC, they say, oh, UFC does pay-per-views every month. Yeah, but 70% of the events that UFC, 75 to 70, 80%, they're on regular, they're not pay-per-view cards. Only 25% of the UFC cards are pay-per-view. So not all of them.
No, and the thing is with the UFC, they have most of the talent. It would be like if Top Rank had most of the talent.
Yeah.
And maybe they were missing a few guys. And there's other leagues that have really good MMA fighters. I don't want to down the other leagues. But let's say they have 70%, 80% of the best fighters in the world. if somebody in boxing had that, where they're able to have that fight. So, make them fights and stack these cards, and pretty much one company directing the direction of the sport, how they want to go. So, to me, how we got here was these are the two big markers. I want to say how we got here to the point where boxing is. The first was the Cold War between Golden Boy and Top Rank, where neither company would pit their fighters up against each other. You would want to see, I would want to see Amir Khan versus Tim Bradley. Well, Tim Bradley's on Top Rank and Amir Khan's on Golden Boy, so that fight's not going to happen. And we never got the fight. And then, if I sat here and listed all the fights, I'd be here all day. But there was a bunch of fights that didn't happen, and that hurt the sport. Then, when Canelo fought Mayweather, De La Hoya went to rehab. Whatever, his cocaine or alcohol addiction, whatever. I'm not here to make fun or judge or anything like that. Everybody has their weakness. Yeah. He went away, and Leonard Ellerby, in one of the most disrespectful things I've ever seen in boxing, spilled the beans as to what happened during that in the press conference with Tank versus Ryan, where he said, well, you were doing cocaine and had to go to rehab and something, I'm paraphrasing, and do all this and do all that. You were sleeping at the wheel. We stole your fighters. We took your fighters and pretty much took them all to Showtime. Then Top Rank left for ESPN. HBO left boxing totally. And I think those are the 2 points of where we can point to and be like, wow, those are 2 major things in boxing that prevented big fights from happening and just disassembled the structure of how boxing was at the time. Yeah. And although we did have great fights and good years in between, listen, like there was one year we had like 3-4 undisputed fights. So don't get me wrong, there were good moments. I don't want to shit on what Al Heyman did, and I don't want to sit here and say that he's the pariah, he's the worst thing to happen to boxing, because that would be absolutely not true. His resume, he made mistakes, as we mentioned, but he has a good resume in terms of his, I'll call him a promoter, his promoter career. He has good fights on his resume. But I think those two things were kind of like stabbing somebody and just letting them bleed out little by little, because then eventually Showtime left boxing, because it was handling all the major events from one promoter. And I remember in the days where Showtime would have a fight, they would sell it to HBO. HBO would go no, and then it would just take it to Showtime, and they would say yes or no, and that's how fights were approved. It wasn't just I'm the only promoter on this network, and you're just gonna take the content I provided for you, because we saw what Top Rank did with ESPN, and they would just pretty much it would just be a can crush show. It would be all prospects. It wouldn't be competitive fights. It wouldn't be big shows. I think besides Fury Wilder, I can't think of a big show they had on the network.
Yeah.
And I think those 2 moments that I mentioned are what brought this to boxing. What brought the situation we're in now.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because don't you find it ironic now when you hear people say, oh, well, now Zuffa is saying that Zuffa and TKO saying they don't want to work with other promoters. Well, promoters had that mentality for years, even before Zuffa came along. And that was always a problem. So now all of a sudden you complain about it. A lot of the PBC fans used to brag about, how Terrence Crawford was on the wrong side of the street and we don't need him, and we got all the fighters over here and that. That was a really, really dark time in boxing, because obviously I try to be objective, but how do you not love Terrence Crawford? And when they were doing that to him, because he's such a great fighter, a fighter of his level and stature, for them to just freeze him out like that was horrible, right? And I just thought that was really a really crappy thing to do to him, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, and right. So I'm not gonna play Monday night quarterback. At the time, I felt the same way, but I was proven to be wrong. I thought that the money. So like Bob Arum would go and say, hey, if I had all the money that I lost on Terrence Crawford, I have a house on Beverly Hills.
I hated when Arum did that too. That was horrible. You don't do that to your own fighter that you're promoting. That was gross.
I agree. But when he said that, I'm like, and then he wanted $10 million to fight Spence. My mentality is your own promoter saying you're not worth it. So
Yeah.
So I kind of saw it. But look, when he got the fight, he ended up getting more than that, more than 10 million.
Yeah, I don't know what he got. What did he actually get for the fight? Do you know?
I actually researched it before the fight. He got roughly around 20 million.
Oh, that's good.
Not,
Good for him.
Not including pay-per-view upside.
Good for him.
So he got double of what he, wanted.
Yeah. I guess it all worked out for him in the end, Joe. When you look at that fight, and you look
then
at
he got the Canelo fight and win.
What are we even talking about here? Like, you're right.
But it almost ruined his legacy. He doesn't get that Canelo win. People will always hold that Errol Spence win. Well, you got him after he should have moved up. It was after a car accident. There's that. Now they can't say shit because he beat Canelo. But he missed out on a prime Porter. He missed out on a prime Keith Thurman, on a prime Danny Garcia, on a prime Errol Spence, all because of this. I'm not gonna do business with that side of the street. That's what happened. And it was a shame because what I remember growing up as a boxing fan, seeing competitive fights between different promoters. And another thing that happened when Heyman came into the game was there was always the small promoters, the Artie Palulos, the Gary Shaws, the Lou DiBellas, the little promoters, and I'm calling them little.
Joe DeGuardia, remember Joe DeGuardia?
Oh, he still does shows here in New York. He still does shows. Yeah. Lou DiBella, I call him a little promoter, but he had Jermaine Taylor, he had Sergio Martinez, he had a few fighters, and Gary Shaw produced Nonito Donaire, Tim Bradley, he also produced. You know what I'm saying? Artie Palulo produced Demetrius Andrade. So there was different people doing different stuff. And the more people you get in boxing, the more ideas you get. And one of the things me and one of the guys that comes on the channel, Juan Del Mio, say all the time, it's like it's rinse and repeat with these promoters. Like New York City has over 1 million Dominicans. They had Elvis Rodriguez and Michelle Rivera fighting on the undercard in Minnesota, undercard to Tim Tszyu. Like we were like, what is going on here? How is that not in New York? How is that not in New Jersey or something? Like, how are we not trying to cater to the audiences? And these people just didn't know. They knew 1 or 2 markets and just rinse and repeat and would try to tell you, well, Dominicans don't sell tickets. And it's like, my man, you throwing them in Minnesota, bro. Like, I don't know what you expect.
Yeah.
So I'm almost circling back to the TKO thing. I'm just curious how they're going to promote and how this affects international fighters. And also, does the other side of boxing, because that's how you have to call it now, do these guys team up now? Do they do more work? Do they get on one network to battle against what TKO might do? How does Turkey Al-Sheikh double dip? Because he's still doing a show this November 22nd, involving PBC and top-ranked fighters. So I'm not sure where they're going to go with that.
Yeah, so for me, what I think, like I said before, is this is going to be that star-making machine. This is going to be like you said, the AAA league. And when these guys graduate, Turkey's going to grab them. And I think Dana's going to have a part of that too, right? Because I think Dana's going to get these assignments like Canelo Crawford every so often. You know what I mean? And I think that's another reason why these promoters are a little bit nervous, because Turkey Al-Sheikh has been the golden goose recently for a lot of these guys. And I think if once they see Dana getting a lot of that activity and a lot of those assignments, that's less work for them. So that's where I think the problem lies for them.
Yeah. I do have a concern, though, of Turkey Al-Sheikh taking all the fights to Saudi Arabia. That is a concern for me. I know Canelo Crawford was in America. I know, he's done the Berlanga Shiraz was also in America. I was actually at that fight. Yeah. I know that, but he's taken a good amount of cards that I would want to see
So you still think that there's too many of the fights that belong here over there, in other words?
Yeah, but there's also the trade-off that they wouldn't happen if he wasn't involved. So there's the hey, like for example, Bivol and Beterbiev were undefeated champions in the same division for 7 years. Turkey Al-Rashid gets involved; they fight twice.
Yeah. And the problem too, Joel, that kind of adds to that is you have the Riyadh season, and he needs fights to fill those to fill that calendar, right, for Riyadh season. So that's there's always going to be that certain amount of fights that go over there just so they can fill up the Riyadh season schedule, right? So that that concern you have, it may not go away because of Riyadh season. So that's something else.
What do you think happens to the sanctioning bodies?
That's a great question. Maybe they'll start smartening it up a little bit. Maybe they'll be a little bit better with their rankings. Maybe they'll listen to the fans and they'll say, well, why don't you have this? Why aren't you ordering this mandatory or that mandatory? Because the WBO, I think, has tightened up a little bit. The IBF's tightened up a little bit. The WBA and the WBC, I'm just really not a fan of the way they do business. They're just really frustrating. Like, how is Tank Davis not stripped right now? How is that fight not ordered immediately, an immediate rematch with Lamont Roach? And if not, then just strip him and have Lamont Roach fight the next available contender for the vacant title. How did that not even happen, right? So I think maybe they'll tighten up. Maybe this could be a wake-up call, right? Because it's great seeing them have a competitor, right? And you could say, oh, well, they reach out as competitors, but no, they kind of work hand in hand, all of them together. They're all in the same boat. They're taking that sanctioning fee money. What are they actually doing with it? Imagine you have to pay to fight for a world title. Like, you actually have to pay to fight for a world title.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back in the day when these belts first came out, when there's a WBA and a WBC, the promoters used to actually pay the sanctioning fees, not the fighters. And that started changing like in the 90s.
Yeah. Some fighters still negotiate that, but this is the part where, if you know boxing, it depending how close you are, this is the part where people don't know. So on your come up, you get these WBA, WBC, international, intercontinental, Latino, whatever belt, and these belts, they look nice for the promotion and they get you ranked and stuff like that. But a lot of times that's coordinated, not earned. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I'm not gonna get into details as the coordinator. I think you're smart enough to figure that out.
Got you.
Yeah. So they're making money from when you're not making money. You know what I'm saying? Because you could be, the argument is that they say is, oh, what we do for the fight. So it's funny. I interviewed the president of the WBO, whose name escapes me right now. I don't know. I'm having a brain fart right now.
The new guy, right? You're talking about
the new guy. And what's his name? I'm gonna feel terrible not knowing. Gilberto Oliveri. Yes.
Yeah.
And what he told me is that he understands the gripe of fighters going, hey, 3% is my paycheck. Like, why am I paying for you? And the argument has always been like, well, we help former fighters, and like, we pay hospital bills and we build statues. Like, I've actually was at a WBC thing where they preserved they made a plaque of Jack Dempsey versus Firpo and Harlem. They made a plaque at the school where the stadium was, where they fought and stuff like that. And that's the argument. And or Mr. Olivieri, his argument was, well, what does that do for the current fighter? Like, so what they doing with that 3% is, one, covering their costs, their, electric, gas, whatever, and all this. And whatever's left over, they give options of teaching them how to invest in the market, teaching them how to use social media to make money, teaching them ways to preserve their body and stuff like that. So he has a whole program.
That's great, Joel.
If you're a WBO champion, where obviously you're paying 3%, but with that 3% comes a service.
We're giving it back to you.
Yeah. When he said that, I was like, oh, this guy actually cares. This guy's actually thinking ahead of. All right. He said it himself. He said, I would think to myself, all right, what does that? That's for a former fighter. I'm a current fighter, and sure, maybe I'm gonna be a former fighter one day. But what if I was doing? What if I do well financially, and I don't need your help with anything?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he brought that up to me. I really didn't have anything to retort. But like you mentioned, the WBO seems to be one of the organizations that are okay.
When you see the WBC making all those commemorative belts, and then I asked him, I was on the Boxer Voice once, and we were interviewing him, and I said, so what are these diamond belts and these silver belts? And he's like, oh, they're just trophies. Oh, so that's where the 3% is going, just so you guys can make trophies for fighters.
You told him that?
I didn't say that. I'm saying it to myself. I didn't.
Right.
I wasn't. I'm not that bold. I'm
not trying to blow. You got some balls, man.
No, I'm not going to try and blow up the spot like that on the Boxer Voice. That's not my plan. I wouldn't have said it anyways, but I'm saying that in my head. So that's where this money goes to. The way like I was like kind of pressing him a little bit, and he's like, he said it in a very he was kind of irritated by the question, because I was saying it kind of like in a dismissive way, like what do they got to pay sanctioning fee for these diamond belts, these gold belts, these silver belts too? So no, they're just trophies.
Yeah, it's funny. So when I first started on YouTube, I kind of got I don't want to say popular because but I kind of like got my name up pretty kind of quick compared to other people. So I had like 8 months on YouTube, and I interviewed him, and I this was a time where Charlo hadn't fought. Jamal Charlo hadn't fought in 2 years, and Adames was like interim champ for like a whole year or something like that.
He was mad at you. He was mad at you, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I was like, heated. What? Yeah, before I even asked the tough question, he started flipping out on me. He started yelling at me. So we had a whole shouting match. Yeah, basically I asked him, I'm like, well, he goes, oh, he's in good position with the interim belt. And I'm like, I think he'd be in better position as being the champion because he can't unify. And he goes, you can unify the interim belt. I was like, no, you can't. And he's like, yeah, you can. I was like, really? I didn't know that. No, I go, really? And he tells me, well, Triple G unified against this, that. And to be fair, that was the only time since.
It's rare. It's rare.
Yeah, that's the only time it's ever happened.
If you're a regular champion, Joel, do you want to fight for an interim belt?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so he brings that up. It's the only time in history. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And then he's like, well, you should do your research if you're going to ask such aggressive questions. And I was just like, well, I did my research, and you said in your rules that if you don't defend the title in 1 year, you get stripped, and it's been 2. So can you explain that? And we just had a whole back and forth. He tried to say that Jamal Charlo had mental issues,
and
like acting as if the belt was the cure for his mental issues.
Yeah, so strip him then.
Yeah, it was really shameful the way they treated him.
Yeah, that was great. Well, you know what he does now? This is what I heard he does now. If you want to interview him, you have to send the questions to the PR person first now.
Yeah.
He did that with
me too. He did that with me too.
Oh, he did that with you?
Yeah. I just said, hey, I just want to discuss Bivol's situation, Adames situation, and then there was something else I wanted to discuss. I didn't give him the questions. I just gave him the topics. Okay. And then his PR person just sent me a bunch of videos of the interviews he's done in the past, and I saw them, and no disrespect to those guys, but they didn't ask the questions I wanted to ask. Yeah. So they would basically, she sent that to me kind of like, oh, here's the answers to your questions. You don't need to interview him. And I was like, no, I still want the interview. And that's how I got the interview. And I got, honestly, to be fair, although there was a lot of contention between me and him, a lot of friction, he answered pretty much every question. There was 2 or 3 he dodged, but for the most part, he gave an answer, even if it was a bullshit answer.
Yeah, he gives a lot of bullshit answers, yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think I unsettled him and really I don't even think I asked tough questions. I was just asking regular questions. It's just he got loud, so I got loud.
Yeah, I remember the whole interview. Like you were very you weren't even really aggressive with him until he started yelling at you.
Yeah, I was very confused, but what it is like, and I'm not calling him a thief. I'm just using this as an example. Like, Joe, if you stole something and I'm asking you, hey, did you steal it? You're gonna get defensive, you
Of
know.
course.
If you didn't steal it, be like, you empty your pockets, yo, bro. Listen, I don't got nothing. What are you talking about? You know.
Sure.
So I think he kind of knew, like, he wasn't expecting me to know as much. Maybe he saw the subscriber amount because again, I had like 8, 9 months, maybe a year on YouTube. So he probably like, oh, this guy doesn't really know much, and that I kind of just figured him out within the first like 5-10 minutes.
The problem with most of them is they expect softball interviews, and then when they get challenged on anything, they don't know how to react to it. Most of the people in the business.
You know what this guy did? You know what he did after the interview?
Oh yeah, I saw what he did. Yeah, he tried to smear you. It's as though he insulted your your integrity as a journalist and all that. I remember that.
Yeah, he said, "Oh, it's a shame you don't have to go to college. You just have to open a YouTube video and this and that." And then I immediately put up a picture of me graduating college. I'm like,
yeah, it's just these idiots. They're ridiculous, man. These people.
Yeah. So all right, so to cap off the conversation, overall, you're a fan of Dana White coming into boxing?
I want to give him a benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he could hurt it. I'm not going to sit there and say it's going to be a home run or I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's just say that, because I know how the business is. I'm not against it. I'm not against him coming in. I want to see what he could do. I want to see the new model, right? And yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. I what I want to see is how different does he promote than these other promoters?
Well, think about. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, these other promoters, it's wash and rinse and repeat. It's you know, like Heyman and Bob Arum are in their 80s. You know, in Bob's case, in his 90s.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna quite understand, you know, how the world works now.
Sure.
And I think, you know, Dana White is a lot younger than them, has a younger team, and has had a lot of success with his method on UFC. I think what he can do in boxing, like you said, we have to wait and see, because I don't think it in any way prevents fighters from signing with Golden Boy, signing with Eddie Hearn, signing with Top Rank. What they're doing is not going to do that. Now, the only thing is, those other promoters, their TV, you know, some of these guys have a deal, some of these guys are on DAZN, so visibility may be a problem on those platforms, but not on TKO, you know.
Yeah, Paramount Plus is probably a more popular platform in the United States than DAZN is, I would guess. I think they have Paramount Plus, I think, has about close to 40 million subscribers. DAZN has 20 million globally, and I don't know how many of that is in the United States, but I know Paramount Plus has about 40 million subscribers, and I think a great portion of that is in the United States. So
yeah, no, it says I'm Googled it right now. Approximately 79 million subscribers Paramount Plus has.
Yeah, I think 40 million in the United States, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure, but
I just put.
I could be wrong, but yeah, they have a huge platform. They have a huge platform.
It doesn't say in America.
Yeah, DAZN only has about 20 million subscribers globally, which isn't bad, but it's nowhere near that, you know, the 70 million or whatever. So
it says there's 60 million premium users, and
for Paramount Plus?
No, for DAZN.
Yeah, look at this, the DAZN global subscribers. I Googled it before.
Let me look it up. Hold on.
Yeah, 20 million right here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm coming up with the 60 million number.
DAZN has approximately 20 million paid subscribers globally as of late 2024.
Oh, okay, I see it now. All right, yeah, there you go. No, I definitely I definitely
It says
agree that
60
Paramount Plus.
million. Yeah, it says 60 million users, but actually 20 million paid subscribers. So I don't know what
Oh,
that means.
I guess you can share your account. I guess that's what it
Yeah,
is.
you can share your account. Yeah.
I got
It
you. I
says
got you.
monthly uses approximately 3 million. Let's the Paramount Plus. Let me see Paramount Plus subscribers in America. Yeah, 77.7 million subscribers, but it doesn't. That's a lot, Joel, isn't it?
Yeah,
Jesus.
that's done. You know, the thing is that that's including somebody who wants to watch Days of Our Lives and
Yeah.
like the Zone. Sure, they
Yeah.
have other sports, other stuff on it,
Yeah.
but like I don't know anybody who's like, hey, I got
Yeah.
the Zone for the darts. You know
Yeah.
what
And
I'm
there's
saying?
there's no actually. I tried to find. There's no listing for how many of those 77 are in America. So yeah, you're right. It's I was off 77 million. It's a lot of subscribers in comparison to 20 million for the Zone.
I got Juan de
Yeah.
lo Mio who goes, link ringside. The street's been missing. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the super chat.
Yeah.
He's someone who actually motivated me to hit you up to get you on the show.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. So he's a guy I call the captain of the Dominican boxing fans because he's always pushing the fans, and he's been really upset with the lately of the boxing structure. Yeah. And he came across your channel. He was putting videos in a group chat you had.
Oh,
and
for real?
at the same time, me and you were debating on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, the comparison you made was Maidana Mayweather.
Yeah.
And as you know, I was like, well, that's like the 1% of the 1%. Like it's an anomaly. Like that's not like it. He has to give it a better example. So me and him were going back and forth. And I was like, you know what? Just to appease you, I'm gonna have him on the show. Yeah. We're gonna have a respect.
I gave you a better example though, didn't I?
With the
Canelo skull.
Yeah,
that was a better example.
That is a better example, but it's still
it still is the 1% of the 1%. But the actual point was the 99 don't get paid well, or really great money. That's the point.
Yeah, and if we're comparing it to the UFC is a company, and boxing is a sport. So if you compare the average boxer to the average MMA fighter, then that's including all MMA type promotions. So yeah, I think we come across.
I tend to just use the UFC as the but it's not fair because you have to use everybody because we're using everyone for boxing.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's complicated in comparison, but I hear your point. But yo, Joe, I truly appreciate you being on the show,
great being man. We had a good discussion.
We had a great discussion. I definitely want you on the show again. Anytime you want me on your show, whether it be this topic or obviously I'm known as the voice of Dominican boxing. If there's something you want to know, you're more than welcome to hit me up. I'm definitely glad.
Yeah, you have connections that I don't. So yeah, it's good to I can learn things from you because you have some great stuff that I don't know. And plus New York is still a pretty decent boxing scene, like it's particularly the amateur level. So you guys still got some decent things going on in there.
Yeah,
Boston's got like we have a few gyms out here, but now it's starting to shift over to MMA.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Boxing in general, honestly, boxing gyms here in New York real estate is bonkers.
Right?
They're trying.
Are you in the Bronx or Brooklyn?
I'm in Queens.
Are you in Queens?
Yeah, I'm originally from Brooklyn, but I live in Queens. I've been living in Queens for a little bit, actually. Now I grew up in Brooklyn until I was 17, and I moved to Queens and haven't looked back since.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, I got Juan de lo Mio again. Farah super chat. He says, "Put the link. The streets want to talk to boxing reporter ringside with the GOAT."
Oh, you want the link to the ringside?
That's what it was. He said, "Link ringside reporter. The streets been missing." I don't know what that meant.
Let me get the link. Let me get the link to the.
I got you. I got you, brother. All right, so we got a special request. My man Juan de lo Mio wants to come and talk. So
he wants to come in.
Come in. Yeah, I put the link in the chat. So for him or anybody else who wants to hop on and talk, please, just click that link. We'll chop it up with my man Joe. And while we wait for him, he already actually hopped on.
Come on, I'm hopping on here fast, man. Yo, I was exposed to this guy today, man, and I'm like, this is what the streets been missing. This guy was straightforward, head on, and what I love about his content is, Joel, he's not on his knees begging, oh man, I might rub the wrong promoter the wrong way if I talk about this. I might rub the wrong guy the wrong way. I might not get a future interview. The guy was spot on his analysis. From a fan's perspective, we are tired. We're fed up. We've been paying $80 for 20, 30 years for bullshit. We're tired, man. And this guy right here, he's representing the voice of the people. I thank you, and I think that I came across your channel. I saw that you've been putting in work for years. Yeah. We appreciate it.
Joe been at it for a while. How long you been doing this?
Since 2009, man. I was on this show called The Rope-a-Dope Radio with Chris Carlson. D-Style was on there, Joshua Jernigan, and then I went to the Boxing Voice for a while. Then in 2016, I teamed up with Eric Lorda, and I do the Boxing Voice. And this April 2026 will be my 10th year anniversary with Eric Lorda on the Ringside Reporter, man.
There you go.
So since 2009, I've been on here, man.
2009. So was that 16 years?
16 years, yeah.
16 years in the game, man.
I thought he was Arabic at first because the last name threw me off.
No, I'm Lebanese. I'm half Lebanese. Yeah, I am kind of. I guess you can call me Arabic. Lebanese people are Arabic.
Great.
I'm half Arabic, I guess. Right.
You guys have a great culture, man. Great culture, great people.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yo, Joe, I wanted to. It's Joe, right? Joseph?
Yeah. His name is Joe.
Yeah. I basically, man, love the fact that you express how the Ali Act. It wasn't like it was covering everybody. It wasn't protecting everybody. People were still getting slaughtered with the Ali Act.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have the money to defend yourself, and you don't have the time, the resources, and you're not in that position where you can take the time off, you're not going to be able to utilize the Muhammad Ali Act. And I'm not here to trash it, but I'm just telling people this is not the Holy Grail. Right.
And I'll add to that point. So what a lot of promoters do to circumvent that is they put in the contract, if we ever do a lawsuit, it has to go to federal court. It can't go to state court. And we already know that of course they're gonna drag their feet. What the fuck? It's a fucking boxing lawsuit.
They want to beat these guys into submission, Joel, is what they want to do.
They don't have time. As a boxer. Yeah, as a boxer, time is your enemy. And the promoter, like Bob Arum, he promoted Muhammad Ali, to promoting, Shakur and Teofimo. So he has nothing but time. And whatever he passes away, his company still keeps going. So the business isn't against the time. A boxer, if you're lucky, you have 10 years. If you're lucky and you're a good fighter and you don't get hurt and you sell a good amount of tickets and you're in position well with a good manager who doesn't rub promoters the wrong way, there's a lot of shit that could go wrong. So that's the type of level of luck you have to have 10 years. So if somebody's saying you're gonna sue me, all right, out of those 10 years, you're gonna lose 2. You're taking out 20% of somebody's career, somebody's prime.
Who lost in that situation, Bob Arum or Mikey Garcia?
I'll say this. I'll say this. Mikey Garcia ended up at the end of the day got what he wanted, which was a lot of money. He went for Errol Spence, got a big paycheck for that, then signed with Eddie Hearn, got a big paycheck to fight Sandor Martin, even though he lost. So he ended up winning financially, but I want to say it costed him his legacy. It costed him his resume. He didn't have
prime years. Some of his prime years, Joel.
Prime years. He never fought Lomachenko, Gamboa, Crawford. Who else? Who else was in the division at the time? Might have been I don't know if Juan Manuel Marquez was at the division at the time. But either way, it costed him a lot of fighters that he could have fought. And I'll be honest with you, I think Mikey Garcia had a lot of talent to the point where he could have been a Hall of Famer. But I come across leaving like he left a lot of meat on the bone. And because of that lawsuit, he's not, in my book, if I had a vote, which I don't, I wouldn't vote him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You know?
Joe, so, I definitely love the way you guys came together today, man. You guys provided valuable content. I would love to see you guys working again together, man. And Joel has a lot of contacts, man. Joel has got me on private planes. Joel has got me in front row seats in Boxer's corner.
Yeah, Joel's official, man. I gotta be honest. He's official,
man. Yeah. I built a lot of relationships, and there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. A lot of these fighters don't know. Some of these guys barely graduated high school. A lot of them didn't graduate high school. So they don't know a lot about these laws. It's a shame, but we know more.
Well, it's just like this. I got another gem for you right now. Oh, well, these fighters, they need to be told how much of the revenue they're getting, the percentage and the rights fee, this and that. But most of the time, you're negotiating before the first ticket's even sold, right? Mm-hmm. You don't know how many people are going to be viewing in to watch the fight. So you're negotiating off of projections. And how many times do you hear promoters say, oh, we lost money on this fight. This fight didn't make any money. So, yeah, you can get the revenue, but the promoter has to give the gate receipts to the commission, because that's how their fee is determined, a percentage based off of the gate receipts. So it's not like there's not information that's not given to the commission where these fighters don't know how much revenue the gate did, And you think Usima Lima, when he got the call, do you think Eddie Hearn sat him down and said, well, this fight, we got a rights fee from DAZN for this amount of money, and this is how much you're getting? No, he said, listen, this is your purse. You take it or you leave it. That's it.
What happened?
So let's not be. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Lima. I'm just saying that's how it goes.
Joe. Yeah. So what happened to the prior guy that was negotiating with Eddie Hearn? Oh, we done. We left. Oh, come back. We need you. Eddie, we gonna take the 500,000. What was the guy name?
You talking about Rashidi Ellis? You talking about Rashidi Ellis?
Yeah. So this whole thing is about. I think it's about jealousy, man. Oscar De La Hoya, he has that way about him where he likes to subtract from others to add to himself. I mean, Canelo Alvarez was the best thing since sliced bread when he promoted him, but once he was gone, all these things are he's this, he's that, whatever. So I just think that they look at TKO boxing as a threat. They don't like the fact that Turki Al-Sheikh is behind it. And as I said to Joel, I think that the fighters that they're going to be getting, that level of mid-level to lower level, that's going to take away from their undercards, and I don't think they like it. That's just my
Joseph.
opinion.
Another thing that I don't like about boxing is that boxing is so focused on protecting the name and building around the star instead of letting the cream of the creme come to the top and protect the fighter that earns it inside the ring. I thought that was just stupid to have that standard of protecting a fighter.
Yeah, and I remember years ago, Bob Arum said, well, Joe Guzman doesn't sell tickets. Why would I put Pacquiao in with him? And it's like, come on, man. Like, at the end of the day, this guy has a belt. He's in the same division as your fighter. Yeah. I think a unification fight is a fight the fans would want to see. And it's also a competitive fight, which more importantly, whether Pacquiao or Pacquiao might have won the fight or not, I don't know. But at the end of the day, as a fan, I watch fights to know who's the best, not to who's the prettiest, not to who got the most entertaining. Obviously, entertainment's a part of the process, but when I sit down and watch a fight, and while I'm watching the middleweight division, and I'm following the middleweight division from top to bottom, that's the division I'm using for example. I want to know who's the best. And if you're limiting fighters because one's more popular than the other and you don't want to take a risk because of that, you're limiting the sport. Yeah. And I think that and the crux of it is what's wrong with boxing now. you know, with the whole and then it goes back to what I was saying with the whole, you know, the Cold War, that side of the street, this side of the street. And it's like, well, fans don't give a fuck. Like, it's almost embarrassing to explain to your friend who's a casual fan why a fight is not happening. They're like, oh, you know, you're the boxing guy. Why can't I watch, you know, so and so against so and so? And then you go, well, this he signs to this promoter, that promoter, this and that, and it's kind of like, man, I don't want.
Joel, you know what makes that even worse? You got to go on Twitter and YouTube, and you got to listen to all these people who want to be managers instead of fans, and they're worried about guys making millions of dollars, making more millions of dollars at their own expense. Don't they realize the more money they make, the more money you got to spend to watch them? I mean, I have empathy for everybody. I want to see fighters get taken care of too. But I mean, at what point and in what extent, you know, is enough enough? Like, how much do they want to screw us over and have us just keep coming back? You know, that's the thing. You know, you're arguing with these people. It's like when you go to a restaurant and you sit down, you're worried about the quality of your meal and the quality of your service. I mean, do you get up and go back in the kitchen and ask the manager, hey, how much are the cooks making? Make sure these guys are getting taken care of. No, I mean, that, like, in what other business do fans accept, want to pay more to get less, and they're happy with it? Like, how does that work? Like, this is the only sport where you see people do this.
No, and not only that, I'll circle back to overpaying the fighters. Overpaying the fighters, and you can say, well, the fighters, they deserve the most as much as possibly can. They're risking their lives for our entertainment. And believe me, I understand that point, and I don't want to totally dismiss that. But when you overpay, you in business, you're messing up the market. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, you know, and when,
like,
for example, Look at Rashidi Ellis. Juan brought him up, which is a perfect example. The guy was getting offered $500,000 to fight in a main event against Boots, and he said that wasn't enough. All right, well, now you're not going to get the fight. Lima's going to get the fight. How much you think Rashidi Ellis is going to get paid?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, he's used to. Well, these other fighters are getting paid X and, you know, this and that, and you think you're worth more. I saw an interview with Troy Isley. Troy Isley said that they offered him Janibek, a two-belt unified champion, for $350,000. He said no. He said they're gonna have to pay me a lot more than that. Who the fuck is Troy Isley in the grand scheme of things? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
Like,
how much did Lima get? How much did Lima get to fight Boots? Do you know?
I don't.
Yeah,
I bet you.
How much did Boots get?
Boots, I'm sure got like 2-3 million.
Think so? Okay.
I think so, because that Eddie Hearn is pretty much all in on Boots. I feel like that's who he looks at as the next American star. Yeah. And he's not wrong. The guy is very popular.
Boots got boatloads of potential, man. There's no doubt about it. I think Boots would beat Virgil Ortiz. That's just my opinion, but I mean,
Carlos Adames also got hit with the bug of thinking he's worth more than what.
That's also another person who
did he turn down that Janibek fight too?
Turned it down.
Carlos Adames?
No, he overpriced himself. So this is how the negotiation started. And I wish I was on your channel, so because my audience already knows the story, but whatever you ask, so I'll just inform you.
Sure.
So the negotiation started was, all right, you're gonna $2.5 million to fight Janibek November 22nd. On the undercard of the Benavidez Yard fight. Adames didn't like how he was treated last time he went to Saudi. There was a problem with him getting into Saudi Arabia. He tried to get into the country, and he wasn't allowed in 2 weeks before the fight. They were only allowing him a week before the fight, but there were other people who were able to board the plane and go there. So he felt like maybe there was some gamesmanship done there. And then he didn't like how Turkey was in that guy's corner. And then it came out that the fight was a draw. So he was like, hey, listen, let's make the fight in America. That was a sticking point. So he goes, all right, I'll fight in Saudi, but give me $3 million instead of $2.5 million. And that there was a stalemate. And the fight just never happened because of that. And then Turkey went on the Boxing Voice, and he said hey man, this was all Adame's fault. You know, it goes, it has nothing to do with Janabek. Janabek has already agreed to his side of the deal. The only guy holding it up is Adame's, and we sent them a fair and generous offer. But Adame's team's position is, hey man, like, we didn't like the way we were treated, so we'll take the risk, but it has to be for a good amount of money. And if not, we could fight for less in America and just fight.
You said it in a nicer way. He was like, he's giving everybody problems. At least the Cubas, us. He went in.
Yeah. All right, hold on. Let me get to the super chat. Nobody 92 sends a $5 super chat. Salute to you, my brother. He goes, how much will the TKO league affect international boxing?
I don't think that much, Joel. I don't think that much.
I don't think like fights like in England and in, you know, Mexico or Canada are gonna get affected by it.
Yeah.
I just now I do worry how it affects international boxers.
Yeah.
That I do worry about. Because
that was a good point, Joel. I didn't even think of that, to be honest with you. That was a valid point you made.
Yeah, because right, so they're the only ones with TV. Top Rank, for example, doesn't have TV. Yeah. So if they don't have TV, and eventually the company's gonna go down, like that's just how it works. And all right, so where are these international fighters gonna go? Well, they're not gonna go to TKO because what's the point of having a manager? All I need is pretty much, like, I know how much I'm gonna get paid. I'm gonna just get paid. You haven't done no negotiating. You're just gonna get 10, 20, 30%. I've heard up to 33% on a fighter, for nothing. Like, you're not really doing no work. It's a bit complicated, but as far as international boxing, I don't see how it could affect.
No, I don't think it's gonna have it. And they've made it clear that they wanted to focus on America, anyways.
Yeah. No, and they signed Brandon Adams, Vito Melnicki, a bunch of American fighters. So it looks like they're going that route.
Joseph, what really shocked me was Top Rank not securing a deal with that big of a stable. That was surprising to me.
Yeah.
That let me know right then that it was bad.
Someone was telling me that they were thinking about signing a deal with Stars. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard that too, but I don't know how true it is.
I don't know how true that is.
Yeah. One thing I will say is how Top Rank performed on ESPN with a $90 million a year budget makes it hard for another company to invest.
Yeah.
They did have good fights. I'm not saying they didn't, but for $90 million a year, I don't think they quite produced the amount of stars and the amount of big events. Honestly, they never had a Canelo type fight. They never had a Tank type fight or Anthony Joshua type fight. The only fight they had that was big was the Fury Wilder, and that was a split promotional deal. So they didn't even get 100% of that revenue. So it's kind of like, I think that's really what's costing them more so than whatever Turkey and Dana got going on.
Who else
got anything else for Joe before I end the show?
No, man. I thank you to have you in the boxing space, man, because you really are in tune with what the people
appreciate it,
what the people want, man, and want to see. Boxing fans are extremely loyal. Think about it. You're asking this consumer base to pay for something. This doesn't even happen nowhere else. Mm-hmm. And for us to be carrying the sport for 20, 30 years under this model, enough is enough. I'm happy. I'm happy that the house is coming down. I'm overjoyed because we need a new structure.
All right, Juan. Thank you so much.
Take care, man.
Yeah, he's saying burn it all down and rebuild it. So we'll see. We'll see where the chips fall in 5 to 10 years. But Joe, thank you so much for being on the channel. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
Anytime you want me on your channel, you can count on me. I got you as long as I'm free. I got you, my brother.
All right. Thank you so much, man. I had fun. Talk to you soon, man. Be good. Have a good night.
You want to promote anything before we go?
Just you guys can check me out on a Ringside Reporter Live, the channel here on YouTube. We go live every Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern time, myself and Eric Lauda. So, make sure you check us out.
There we go. Check them out. All right guys.
Thanks a lot,
Later.
Man.
Good night.
Be good.